I've got a pet. Can you guys see? I haven't named him yet. Can you please share names? Cute little fella. Okay, I think we are at 70 people. That's enough quorum to. Now, Katoria, please tell us, what did Kanyari do to you? Maino, wait, you guys are copying this name. This is Maono. Oh, 8th hour. That's nice. Isaac, that's actually creative. Katoria, I'm sorry. Okay, name him Sesko. Babe? We have some names here. Sesko, Maoni, Bosco, Peaches, Karik, Kanyari the cat. All right, enough about cats. So I think we can begin now. Let me welcome you all for this session. This is going to be a very heavy session. That's why I took some time to, lighten the mood a little bit. So let's start with the prerequisites. What are the prerequisites for this course? My copy paste is not working and I'm trying to copy paste. Oh my goodness. I need to check if copy paste is enabled. Shared clipboard, bidirectional. Okay. All right, that's okay. So we will start with the prerequisites. What are the prerequisites for this course? I think it's important we always start with the prerequisites so that you can gauge whether this is the right class for you or if you have to go back and watch previous classes. So the prerequisites for this class is that you know how to download and install software engineering tools, or just any software for that matter. So in the previous sessions, we've downloaded and installed VS Code, Sublime Text, and more importantly, the Python interpreter. We also downloaded NodeJS. In this session, we are going to install it. We are also going to download one more tool called Git, and we look at what it does in a future class. So you also need to know how to invoke the Python interpreter and type simple instructions. So what do I mean by that? I mean doing this. So you come here, you look for your Python interpreter, you open it, and you're able to type simple commands like print Kanyari, okay? Kanyari, okay? And then it prints Kanyari. So you need to be able to know how to do that. Let's just close this. You also need to have basic computer skills, like you can switch on your computer, move files, create files, on Chromebook. Yeah, I think you can download on Chromebook. Just search VS Code and then see which option it gives you. You also need to know the data types. You need to know strings, integers, Boolean, lists. You need to know how to give your file to the interpreter, and we saw how to do that using the inbuilt terminal inside VS Code. You also need to have read the software development gentle introduction article I shared in the Discord server. It's an article that really simplifies things. It helps you understand software development, in a simplified way. If you didn't read the article, it's on Discord. You can just look for the article I had shared earlier. Screen display is blurry. I think it's the network. Can you try to change the version, the quality to 720? I think it's the network. Okay, the Discord link. Can somebody please share the Discord link with Katoria in the chats if you can? Yeah, so these are the prerequisites for this session. And I do have to admit, getting into tech is not easy, especially if you want to do it alone. And that is why we have this community. When we started, we agreed, we agreed that nobody is going to give up. And we also agreed that nobody is going to be left behind. So if you feel like you're being left behind, you need to identify the topics that are a little bit challenging. That's why I said it's very important to have a notepad or, just some form of, note to, if I talk about something that is challenging to understand, you write it down, and then you can share it in the help channel on Discord. So in the help channel, anybody can comment on your issue and help you, unstuck yourself. If you need more detailed personal walkthrough, if you feel like you need, to have a session with me, you can take advantage of the office hours. Office hours, separate classes with fewer people, where we go through some of the challenging topics. So we did have an office hours class yesterday, which was very informative. We went back and tried to do a recap of what we've done so far. So if you've been in all the 5 classes and nothing is clicking, you're not getting anything, it's just confusion after confusion, that is okay. That is absolutely okay. As a matter of fact, I keep saying I gave up 4 times when I was starting to learn how to code. I think it's the 5th or 6th time that I just decided to stick with it. However, every time I tried again, I was building on top of what I had already learned from the previous session. Okay, and I was learning everything all alone. I was completely new to the tech world. But what we said here is that we don't want to leave anybody behind. We are moving forward as a community. I think up to that point you're very clear. Yeah, Bernard, that's right. Maybe he needs to change the quality. All right, so this course is absolutely free. However, like I said, a lot of resources have gone into preparing for this course. And if you do wish to, support the course so that I can keep creating this content, feel free to send your contributions through the M-Pesa number for Kenyans, mobile money for Ugandans, and students from other countries can use PayPal. I've shared all the details in the chat, so you can send your donations, whatever amount. So I do have a weekly fundraising target, and for this week it was $200. So your $10, your $20 goes a long way to helping me make everything run. As you can see, there's quite a lot of resources used here. So what are we going to learn today? This is what you're going to learn today. Excuse me. So we are going to look at more examples using Python so that we understand data types, very important, and we also talk a little bit about syntax. We're also going to get started with JavaScript, and we're also going to build a simple web page, sorry. And if the time allows it, we're going to have a complete walkthrough of a sample project, okay? We want to see in the real world how do all these connect. So yeah, Willy Njuguna, LX. I'm actually an LX graduate myself. I did a DevOps nano degree with them. It wasn't easy, I agree. It's quite tough. So yeah, so without much ado, let's jump in and look at some code. So right here, we want to build something. And since Katoria said Kanyari took his 310 shillings, we want to build a system that will track counterfeit pastas or scam pastas, okay, whatever you want to call it, but you want to build a system that will track pastas that are scammers. Okay, this is just it's a completely new idea. So if you have anything to add to the program, you can share in the chat, but I'm just going to share what I have so far, and then we can move from there. I see my feed is buffering. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I think I also need to open Discord so that I can see the comments on Discord. All right. So the buffering could be on my end. That's all right. So, like I said, you want to build a system that will track corrupt pastors or scam artists that pretend to be pastors. So, like I said, the first step to creating any project or any program is to create a folder. Okay, and in this class we are going to create our folder using CMD. I forgot to mention in the prerequisites, but the prerequisite for this is also you need to know how to work with CMD. So down here, I'm going to open CMD. So I'll come to the search bar and type CMD. Sarah, there is no WhatsApp group. Software engineers do not use WhatsApp group. We are a very special breed, so we use special software. So the software we use is called Discord, not WhatsApp. WhatsApp is for everybody else. So we will open our terminal, and I'll just zoom in here. And as you said, this is what we call your working directory. So any command you type will be inside this directory, but you want to create our folder inside the desktop directory. So what do? We say dir. First we want to find out where the desktop directory is, and we are seeing inside this directory called users Moses Mbadi, which is our working directory. We want to cd into the desktop directory. So here I'll come and say cd desktop, hit enter. Now I'm inside desktop, I'm not inside Mbadi. So inside desktop, we are going to create a directory. Remember the command for creating a directory? Can somebody share in the chat the command for creating a directory? All right, so it's mkdir. Thank you, Anzakua. Mkdir pastas. Let's just call it pastas. So we'll hit enter. Kimanthi, remove the space between mk and dir. It's mkdir. So we have created a directory called pastas, and if we come to our desktop, we want to look for that directory. It's right here. Okay, so we are going to open VS Code. So I'll come here. I will look for VS Code. Okay, my second feed is buffering. Let me just refresh it so that I can be okay. So here we are going to open VS Code. I'm looking for Visual Studio Code. It's right here. We will open it, and then after we've opened it, it will open the previous project we were working on, but you don't want to work on that project. So I will just come to File. I will say Open Folder, and then I'm looking for the folder called pastas, which is here. I will open it. And then I'll say trust this author. And then now we are inside our project. Now, what is the first thing we do after creating? Yes, Kevin, even if you type code space full stop, I will open VS Code. So the first thing is to create a document that has information about your project that is not the actual code. And the document, if you remember, is readme.md. So I'm going to say readme.md. So what do we write inside readme.md? We are going to write the title of our project, or what our project is about. So we say fake pasta tracking system. Okay, and then so what do we want to store? Number one, we want to store a list of pastas. So we'll say list of pastas. And then number 2, what do we want to store? So this is now where programming is, becomes very interesting, because you have to do what you call system architecture, okay, or system design. System design means looking at the problem you are trying to solve and creating a solution for that problem. So here we want to track fake pastors, but we don't know how we can track fake pastors. How can we track fake pastors? So let's see. We can track by collecting the number of offerings they get. So we'll say offering. We store offerings. So here I'm supposed to say store offering they get. And then we also want to calculate their net worth. So we'll store net worth. Okay. So, and then we will store expenses, because running a church incurs some expenses. So we'll say store expenses. All right. So we do have the offering, we do have the expenses, and then we do have the net worth. Now, how can we identify that this pastor is fake or is a scam? We can say, if you are getting this much money, let's say for example the pastor gets 100,000, okay, and the expenses are, let's say, 75,000, okay. So what is the net worth of this pastor? So we can say the net worth is the balance that the pastor is remained with. In this case, the pastor should have 25,000 remaining in their bank account. So we can say this is the net worth. So the word net worth is used loosely to mean the balance, the money they go home with, okay, or the profit, okay. So now how can we take all this and represent them in code? Okay, so let's create our file, our instruction file, which you are going to call it main.py. Okay, now inside main.py we can create a list of pastors. How do we create a list? In Python we say list, we can give it a good name, pastors, and then we create that. That is how you create a list in Python. And then inside we are going to say we start with Kanyari. I'm very sorry if there is anybody here who goes to any of the churches I'm going to mention. Kindly just know I do not mean any harm. I'm just using this as examples. Please do not, don't say I'm not even going to donate to this course because this guy hates my pastor. Please don't say that. I'm just using as an example. All right, so let's continue. So we have who? Pastor Mbadi. We also have, let's say, Pastor, I don't want to use a word because I know I have students here who go to his church and I don't want to offend you guys. So let me look for names here. So you'll say we have Pastor To. I'm seeing Dennis To. Dennis, I'm sorry. We also say we have Pastor Anza Kua. Like so. So we have a list of pastors here and we want to find out which of these pastors is a scam. So we can pick one pastor. For example, let's pick Pastor Mbadi, and then we store the offering Pastor Mbadi gets, okay? Oh, commander, okay. And then we have commander. Okay, so let's pick Pastor Mbadi, for example, okay? So we'll come down here, and then we say offering for Mbadi is 10,000, okay? And as I write my code, I will introduce intentional bugs, okay? Intentional bugs or bugs in coding is when you have something in your code that prevents your code from running. So as I write, I will introduce intentional bugs so that we can see what happens. So Mbadi gets an offering of 10,000. Mbadi incurs an expense of, for running the church, Mbadi incurs an expense of 6,500, for example, okay? And Mbadi has a net worth, of 7,000, okay? So we want to find out, is this pastor corrupt? You know, is he participating in other outside activities that generate money which are illegal, for example? So we'll use a condition. This is where conditions are very useful when coding. So we will use our conditions. We say if net worth of Mbadi is greater than offering Mbadi, okay, is greater than his offering, then we put a colon. So we come down here and say print, we want to say print Mbadi is corrupt, okay. So let's go ahead and see if this code will run. So I'm going to open our terminal. So I'll come to file, terminal, new terminal, and then I'm going to say Python main.py, and here we are getting an error, okay. It's saying type error greater than not supported between instances of integer and tuple. Now what the heck does that mean? So as a software engineer, as you write your code, you also need to understand how to read the error that you get. So our code is not running. There is an issue somewhere, and the error does not really point out where the issue is. In fact, on the surface, this error is very misleading because it says the error is right here. But who knows where the error is? I want somebody to point out where the error is. Let me grab a cup of water as you try to figure out where the error is. All right, let's see who has gotten it right. The variable definition for Mbadi, Jefferson, the variable definition of Mbadi. I don't know if you meant the value assigned to that variable, but you're very close. It's supposed to be 10,000. Yeah, thank you very much, Jefferson, Kimanthi. So this is not supposed to be here. So we remove it, okay? And then we clear our screen, and then we try to run our code again. And once we run our code, nothing is printed on the screen. So let's go through the logic and see why nothing is printed. So we are saying Mbadi has an offering of 10,000. He has an expense of 6,500, and the net worth is 7,000. And then we are saying if the net worth is greater than offering, okay, we print this. So let's find out is net worth more than offering? So let's see, the net worth is 7,000, the offering is 10,000. So of course this is wrong, this is false. We say false. So if this is false, then we are not going to print anything, okay? We are not going to print anything. But what if we say we use a smaller sign, less than? Oh, okay. So what if we use less than? So we'll run our code again. And as you can see now, Mbadi is corrupt is being printed. This is very important. Understanding conditions in programming gives you a leg up. It makes you understand things better. So let's go through the logic again, okay, and understand why now we have Mbadi is corrupt printed. So we are saying if net worth of Mbadi is less than offering, then Mbadi is corrupt, okay? Is this true? If this is true, we execute the code right below it. Now, there is something very important you need to pay attention here, is the space here. This is what we call indentation in Python programming. Indentation is a way to group pieces of code. So assuming down here, we want to say age of Mbadi is, let's say, 56, okay? And then we want to also, apart from printing Mbadi is corrupt, we want to print age, okay? That should be age Mbadi, all right? So let's run our code again. Let's just clear the screen, run our code. As you can see, 56 is printed, Mbadi is corrupt is printed. So if this we say evaluates to true, whatever code below it will run. If this evaluates to false, then nothing will run inside here. Let's try to change this to greater than so that it can be false, okay? And then we try to run our code again. Okay, nothing is running because this is not being executed, okay? Because this returned false. But what if you come down here to the beginning of the line and say print print Mbadi is a pastor from Nambale. Who knows where Nambale is, by the way? Let me see if some of you know me. Who knows where Nambale is? If net worth is less than offering, I didn't get your question, Dalmas. Oh, icon. Okay, I see. So now let's see if this code will run and what exactly will be printed. So let's run our code. And now Mbadi is a pastor from Nambale, but this is not printed on the screen, okay? So when you are coding in Python, we use what you call indentation to group several commands together, okay? This is Python's way of handling it. When you're using other languages, like for example, JavaScript or Java or whatever, you don't use indentation. JavaScript does not care where you indent. For example, you can just put this here and JavaScript will still run, okay? It doesn't care about this indentation here. And this indentation, to add it, you use the tab key to add that indentation. Some people use spaces, but I prefer to use tab. Are we together? Who's lost? Give me a thumbs up or a love, or if we are together. All right, so we carry on. So now conditions do not just end here, okay? Conditions do not end here. This is an empty condition, so to speak, or it's a hanging condition. Let's try and see how logic works in programming. So I'll open Paint here. So assuming you have an automated cleaner in the house, okay? This thing that, you know, moves around like a robot, and you've left the house, you've left your pets in the house, but this thing cleans your house if a pet has, you know, has pooped, peed, pooped, okay, however you want to call it. So we have our robot here, okay, and this robot has an eye. Let me see if I can draw an eye. It has an eye looking towards this direction, okay? And there's a cat here. I was very good at drawing in high school. I don't know what happened. There's a cat here, okay? So we want to tell this, we want to program this automated cleaner or duster. You want to tell it you're looking in this direction. If this cat poops, let me see if I can draw a cat's poop. Doris Chepkoech, welcome. You can join our Discord community. In the announcement channel, you can find links to previous sessions. I think that is the best place to start. Alternatively, you can just go to the channel home and then you can see all the videos we've uploaded so far. So this is our 5th class in this session. So we want to tell this robot, if this cat poops, we want you to move towards this direction and clean that poop, okay? Now we have a dog, okay? Let's just try and draw a dog here. We have a dog. So we want to tell it, if this cat poops, you go and clean that poop. But if this dog pees, okay, we want you to go and clean that pee. So those are 2 conditions, okay? Those are 2 conditions. So far we've only looked at 1 condition. And then if none of these 2 guys pees or poops, we want you to move to the fridge, for example. So assuming the fridge is here. So if they don't poop, we want you to move to next to the fridge. This is where we want to find you. Okay, maybe we want you to stay hidden so that you don't scare away the cats. Okay, so Isaac, please, that is not the tail, that is P. So let's look at this logic. For example, so we have a robot that cleans our compound, and you want to say if the cat pees, so or if the cat poops. So we want to say if the cat poops, we want you to move to the cat and clean it. All right. If the dog pees, we want you, so we can say if the dog pees, can say if the dog pees, we want you to move towards the dog and clean it. However, if none of these guys pees, we want you to perform a final task, and the final task is you move next to the fridge and stay there until I get home. So this final task, we can say else. Okay, so if cat poops and if oh sorry, there are people who don't understand Kiswahili. Sorry. If the cat poops, go and clean the poop. If the dog pees, go and clean the pee. Or else, if none of this happen, go towards the fridge. Now let's look at that in code. So we are going to delete everything here, and then we are going to say we have a cat. Okay, we have a dog. What else do we have? We have the fridge. Okay, now pay attention to how the logic works here. We've said that we have several types of data types. So we have strings, we have integers, we have Boolean, we have list. Now we've looked at strings, we've looked at integers. This Boolean, this, how can we use it? Now let's try to just type a random example. So here we are going to say dog, his name is Martin. Okay, now let's try and type, a logic here that might look a little bit confusing. So we are going to say if dog, then print moved towards dog. Let's see what happens when we run this code. So we are going to clear our screen and then run the code. So as you can see, it's saying moved towards dog. But as you can see, we've only said if dog. We've not said anything else. We've just said if dog. So what does if dog means? If dog means it will check the dog variable and it's there. So this automatically will translate to true. Okay. But interesting bit, what if I delete this? What if I delete it like so? What will happen? Let's see what happens. We run our code and we get an error saying, hey, what is dog? We don't know what dog is. Okay, so let's go back and return that dog here, and then we're also going to add the cat. So you'll say cat. We're going to say the cat's name is Maoni. Somebody suggested Maoni. Let's give it a proper name. Okay, so now we want it to move towards the dog if the dog poops, and we want it to move towards the cat if the cat poops. So here we can add another logic. Okay, we can say if cat, we want you to print moved towards cat. Okay, so let's run our code again, and then we can see both statements are being printed. But we all know the robot, the screen is not clear. Oh my goodness. Is there anybody else having a challenge with the display? All right, I think there's a slight delay on the responses. We'll get there. So as you can see, we are getting these statements. We are getting these two statements printed on the screen. However, the robot cannot move towards two places at the same time. As you can see here, it cannot split itself so that it goes here and it goes here. No, it can only go to one place. So let's try and introduce something here. So instead of saying cat is Maoni, we are going to say cat is false. Okay, we are going to say cat is false, and we are going to run our code again. So we'll clear the screen, run the code, and now we are seeing it will only move towards the dog because the dog evaluates to true. Okay, so here we can see that it's not a must to write the names of the cats and the cat and the dog here. So here we can say dog is true. Okay, what else do we have? We have a fridge. So we have a fridge, and the fridge we are just going to say the fridge is true. All right, so what does this true false mean? This could mean the existence of the mentioned object. So let's add the final task the robot has to do if all this does not happen. If the dog does not pee, if the cat does not pee, what should the robot do? The robot should go towards the fridge. So we'll say else. So we'll say print, and then we are going to say move towards fridge. And then you're going to close like so. So let's run our code and see what happens. So we'll run our code and see moved towards dog, moved towards fridge. But we've said the robot cannot move towards two separate directions at the same time. You cannot move here, you cannot move here, you cannot move there, all at the same time. You can only move towards one direction. Okay, so in our code we are going only to have one true, okay, at a time, one true at a time. So here we'll say this evaluates to false. Okay, and then we run our code, and then as you can see, the robot will move towards the fridge because this is not true, this is not true. Okay, if this is not true, then it will move towards the if this is not true, it will not move anywhere. If this is not true, it will not move anywhere. Okay, are we together? Do you guys now understand how conditions work? All right, so that is a little bit more samples on Python. I want you guys to do this without me giving you the code. Okay, so you can take a few minutes, take a screenshot. I think I can just screenshot and share on Discord. All right, let me just paste it on Discord. All right, so don't attempt the assignment yet. I will edit it and give you more details that will guide you on how to do the assignment. But that is the assignment for the day. So enough of Python. We've done enough Python for today. Let's jump into JavaScript, okay? Now, so like we said, whenever we write any instructions, okay? Don't save. Whenever we write any instructions, we first have to find out which language are we using, okay? And we've said the computer will take our instructions in human language. The computer will give this instruction to the interpreter, okay, or compiler or runtime, and then the interpreter will take our instructions and give it to the CPU or to the computer. So when what if it's false altogether? Yeah, now that is your homework, Marvin. Do that and then tell us what happens. So the computer only understands ones and zeros, okay? This is what we call binary. So the interpreter takes our instructions and then gives it to the computer. So this is if you're using Python, okay? But what if you are using a language like JavaScript? What if you're using a language like JavaScript? So JavaScript does not use an interpreter. It uses what you call a runtime, okay? And that runtime runtime, sorry, we have to install it. So let's just say a runtime, and then it will take our JavaScript instructions like so, and then we have our instructions here. So it will take our instructions, we will take our instructions, give it to the runtime, and then the runtime will convert it into ones and zeros and zeros and ones, and then the computer will be able to understand. So let's see how that happens. Number one, we need to install the JavaScript runtime. So here I'm going to open my browser. So once my browser is open, I'm going to go to Node. I'll just type NodeJS. JS means JavaScript. And then I'll click the very first link I get here, okay? So once you click this, it will download something called Node installer. So once you click it, you can click on Windows installer, and then you download this thing here called Node installer. Okay, I already have it installed, so I'm not going to I already have it downloaded, so I will not download it again. So I will come to my downloads folder. You can find your downloads folder up here after it's done downloading, or you can come to this PC. Katoria, let me share the Discord link with you. Just a minute. Let me get the link. All right, Katoria, I have pasted the link in the chat. All right, so once installed, we are going to go to our downloads and then find this thing called Node, okay? And we are going to double click on it. So right now, just before Node installs, let's try something. Right now, if you go to your terminal and try to type Python, it will do this, okay? It will show you this. It means you already have the Python interpreter installed, okay? But so to exit out of the interpreter, you can just do exit. You can just do exit and then you put those parentheses, okay? That will exit the interpreter. Okay, my screen is misbehaving. Let me just resize it. All right, but let's try and find out if the Node runtime is installed. So we'll do Node. And as you can see, it's saying, hey, I do not know what this Node thing is. But let's see if we'll see the same thing after installing Node. So we'll go back to the installer and click next. I'm a very fast reader by the way. I'm reading everything as you sing. And then we'll say accept. We'll say next. We'll say okay. We'll say next. So this one says automatically install the necessary tools. Not this will also install whatever chocolate. The script will also pop up blah blah. We don't want to install that. We only want Node. So we'll say next. We'll say next. Okay, I've noticed every time I'm installing an application, that will happen. So nothing much has happened. It has just said installed and then that was it. So let's again try to see if Node was installed. So we are going to say Node. Again, it's saying, hey, I do not recognize this command. What if we restart our CMD? So we're going to close this and then you're going to say Node. Not Node, CMD, sorry. I'm going to come here and say CMD. Hit enter. Now inside CMD, I'm going to say Node. Okay, and now as you can see, it's showing that Node is installed. Okay, so let's go ahead and type some JavaScript code. So we want to create the same program, but we'll do it in JavaScript. Okay, so here's a tip. I'm a very poor JavaScript developer, so I'm going to copy and paste things here. So let's create a folder. You're going to create a folder and call it pastors JavaScript. We hit enter. Okay, so this is our folder. Now we will open VS Code, and so we are going to copy everything that was written in Python and paste it to ChatGPT and ask it to convert everything to JavaScript. So let's do that. So we'll go to ChatGPT, and inside ChatGPT I will say convert this into, what am I doing? Oh my goodness. Convert this into JavaScript. I'll paste the code, and then it does its thing, and then voila, here we go. So I'll copy this. Now we want to open the JavaScript folder, but you don't want to close this window. So when you're using VS Code, you do not have to close. You can have multiple projects running at the same time. So here I'm just going to go to this option. I'll say file, but instead of open folder, I'm going to say new window. So I'll click on new window. It will open this new window. I'm going to enlarge it or to maximize the display. And then I'm going to say open folder right here. And then I'm going to go to desktop. And then you want to open the JavaScript version. And then you'll say select folder. So once that is done, step number 1 is to create a document that explains what the project is about. So we're going to create a new file. We call it readme.md. Okay. And then inside readme.md, we are going to paste, to type what our project is about. So we are going to say fake pastors tracking system in JavaScript. Okay. And then we are going to store list of pastors, for example. Wait, no. This was the automated home cleaner. Automated home cleaner. You are going to clean if cat poops, clean if dog pees, or else move to the fridge. Okay. Now, how do we convert this into JavaScript code? ChatGPT already gave us the code. So we are going to create a file that will contain our JavaScript code. So here I'm going to say new. Now pay attention to what I'm doing. Instead of main.py, I'm going to say main.js. Okay. JS stands for JavaScript. When you go to the other project that we had, this one here, .py stands for Python. Py stands for Python, which means this is a Python file. In our case here, we are going to say JS, which means JavaScript, which means this is a JavaScript file. So let's paste our code. Now it's very important to note something here. ChatGPT has generated the code for me. However, I understand the code completely. I know exactly what the code does, what goes where, what does what. So let's go through the code, and we are going to compare it with our Python code. So I'll open the Python VS Code here, and I'm just going to minimize down here. I'm going to put it here. Okay, so this is how we said dog is false in Python, but see how we say it in JavaScript. We are using the let keyword. We are saying let dog be false, and then we have a semicolon right here. The same applies to cat, fridge, cat and fridge. Okay, now let's look at how JavaScript handles conditions. So here JavaScript will say if dog, put it in parentheses, and then put a squiggly brackets, and then we want to print this. Okay, so this is the equivalent of print in Python. So let's minimize the Python one and then go to the JavaScript. So as you can see, let's try to first run our code. So we are going to say file terminal. Where is terminal? Where is terminal? Oh, terminal is right here. So we're going to say new terminal, and then you're going to say node main main.js. We hit enter. So as you can see, with Python, we said Python main.py. But in JavaScript, we are saying node main.py. It's because whatever translates our code from English to ones and zeros in Python is called Python interpreter. But in JavaScript, it's not called JavaScript interpreter. It's called the node runtime. Okay, this thing right here. So we call node and then we give it the file that you want it to run. That is what we've done right here. That is what we've done right here. Who's lost? Give me a like if we are up to speed. Okay, I think there's a delay, so we'll just proceed. I'll get the likes later. All right, cool. So now let's try to see if we can change some things right here. So what if we remove this space right here? We remove the space, okay? We are going to run our code again. And then we see we have move towards fridge, okay? So as you can see, we are getting the same results, okay? We have created a home automated cleaner, which cleans if the dog poops, it cleans if the cat pees, and if there's nothing to clean, if there's nothing else to clean, it will just move towards the fridge and stay there. However, with JavaScript, there seems to be a lot going on. We have this parenthesis, this one here. We have this here, which you've not seen in Python. We also have this, which you've not seen in Python. In Python, you've only seen the colon, okay? And this difference in programming languages is very important you understand, because no one project uses one language. They use multiple languages, okay? So when we build systems, we don't use programming languages like this, okay? This is so that you understand the core logic and principles and whatnot. So as you can see, this is a variable. As you remember from our previous class, this is a variable, this is a condition, this is data type, this is Boolean data type, okay? If you want to put it to a string, you can say let name is Moses, okay? And you put a semicolon, not colon, okay? So this is a string. So in both the two programming languages, we have the same data types. We have strings. If I can just try to write a note here. So in JavaScript, for example, in JavaScript, we have strings. We have integers, we have Boolean, we have lists. Am I typing Boolean? Okay, there are so many other data types, but in our case, list is known as arrays, okay, in JavaScript world. Okay, in Python, we have the same things. We have strings, we have integers, we have Boolean, and we have lists. Okay, also when we talk about the data structures that we use, in both the languages we have variables, we have conditions, okay? They are the same, but the only difference is how you state them, the syntax, okay? Now I've also shown you that some of these things we let AI handle it. You don't have to type everything from scratch. You let AI handle it, and I'll show you how we do that in a second. But let's go to the browser and try to find out what we want to find out from common applications, what tools are used, okay? Oh, Chebi, how will we help you? if in Java we use command prompt or PowerShell. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Java, it's JavaScript. And then you can either use PowerShell or command prompt. In both cases, I just prefer to use command prompt. As you can see, with Python, I was using PowerShell, which just runs the same commands. When you're using JavaScript, you can as well use PowerShell. So you can use both. So let's go to a site called built with. Okay, built with, and then we want to find out what technologies websites are built with. So the first one we want to find out, let's try to find out Soma Stories. If it can detect .app, if it can detect what technologies Soma Stories was built with. Okay, so we'll copy this link here. It's called URL. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, software engineers have a whole new diction to how they name things. So a normal user will say link. Okay, say send me the link. But as a software engineer, let me not see anybody saying send the Discord link. If you say that, I will not send it. Say send me the Discord URL. Okay, that is how we call it as software engineers. URL, not links, URL. So here we are going to copy this URL, and then we come to this website and paste it, and then say lookup. Come on, I'm not a robot. See, you can see me here. Select both images that match. Okay. Oh my goodness. Maybe I am a robot because I don't understand what's happening. Oh, there's a cat. There's a cat. Oh yeah, cool. So let's see. So if you scroll down, it's saying that this website was built with a framework called Next.js. What else? It was built with a framework called React. There are some links inside, like Facebook link, Twitter. This is our DNS, and so on and so forth. A lot of things. It even shows the cloud provider that I'm using, which is DigitalOcean. It also shows here I use another tool called Nginx. This is quite a lot. Now let's look for another website. Which website should we search? Which website do you want to see the tools used? Let's say YouTube, for example. Which tools, is YouTube built with? So we are going to type YouTube's URL, which is right here. So we will, I try yours. Yours is, give us the name of yours. What is the URL? Moas. Nike. Okay, let's see what Nike was built with. So let's look for Nike's URL. So we'll go here, and then we will copy this. We'll copy it. We come to our website here, built with. It's called built with. And then we paste, and then we look up. So let's see the tools used. So there's a couple of tools, which is under analytics and tracking. We want to go to the technology bit. So let's just scroll. We see widgets here. Right now we don't know what those are. We've not covered those. So let's just keep scrolling. Oh, we can see it's MongoDB, which is the database. So the languages, these are natural languages. There are quite so many. The frameworks. This is the most important bit. So under frameworks, we see there's a framework called Express. Okay, there's a framework called Express. There's a framework called Next.js. There's PHP. This is a programming language. There's Perl. This is also a programming language. There's Java, not JavaScript, Java. Yeah, and that's it. So there are two very important things here. This Next.js you see this Next.js, you've now seen it twice, on the first website we looked at and on this one. Let's try and see another website if we can find this Next.js thing. So we can type any other website. Let's say, for example, let's type eCitizen. So let's look for eCitizen URL, eCitizen. So under eCitizen, we will copy the URL. We go here, we type, we search. So let's look at the tools. Please don't report me to DCI. I'm not hacking. This is publicly available information. Don't report me. So we'll go to frameworks, and as you can see, it's only showing Phoenix framework, nothing else. So there's Bootstrap here, which is JavaScript library. Pay attention to this. So we have jQuery. Yeah, and that's it. Let's try again another one once more. So let's try something like what? Equity Bank. Okay. So let's look for the URL. Let's copy this. Let's go here. We go back and then we paste. That is taking ages. So this is just simply how you can check the technology a website was built with. But there's another tool you can use which is called Wapalizer. Now, the tool is what you call a browser extension. How do you install a browser extension? A browser extension, right now in your browser, you just type the address, you browse. If you want to go to Facebook, you type Facebook, blah, 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 you browse, that's it. Okay, but there are a lot of other things you can do with your browser. For example, you can install what you call a plugin. Okay, and to install a plugin, you can click on this icon right here and then say discover extensions, and then inside here I'm going to type an extension called Wapalizer. I hope I got that spelling right. All right, right here, this one, I will click on it and then I will say add to Firefox. Okay, again, to install the extension, you go to this icon right here. If you are using Chrome, I think you can just click on this and then go to the extension tab. One of my kittens is... Babe? Okay. I think he's just lost or something. So we have installed this extension called Wapalizer. We can just say allow it on private windows and then add it like so. Sends anonymous information. Yeah, we want it to send usage statistics, so we'll say okay, and then we say okay. So let's go back to Facebook, for example, and we want to find out what technologies was used to build Facebook. So we can go to this icon right here. We can see our extension. So we can try to pin it here so that it becomes easy to reach it. So we can say pin to toolbar. I've just right clicked and said pin to toolbar, and then it's right here. So you can just click on it, and as you can see, it's not showing any technologies. Okay, it's because not every website will allow you to see the technologies they were built with. So let's try another website. Let's try Equity. We'll go to Wapalizer. Oh yeah, we now have tools. So we can see Equity was built with jQuery, a JavaScript framework, whatever. Now pay attention to this thing right here, JavaScript. So let's go to another website like Soma Stories. That is somastories.app, and then we'll click this, and then as you can see, JavaScript frameworks. Now you've noticed there's a pattern there. JavaScript is used almost on every website. So the JavaScript framework used here is Next.js and React. Let's try another one. Let's try like jQuat website. So you'll go to jQuat, and then we can click on the Wapalizer. And then we can see here, we are looking for JavaScript. Now, this one, it has WordPress, but as you can see here, there's JavaScript framework, JavaScript libraries. Now, do you see the importance of learning JavaScript? Because it's practically everywhere, okay? Now, the next thing you might ask yourself, what are all these JavaScript frameworks that you keep seeing? Now, if you go to your browser, let me just close all these windows. Close multiple, close all to the right. Young man, I'll beat you. Talk up. All right. So let's go to another tab and Google what JavaScript frameworks are. So we are just going to say JavaScript frameworks. Okay, we want to see what those are. And as you can see here, we have quite a few. Okay, we have React, we have Angular, we have Vue.js, we have, however you want to pronounce this, Svelte, Solid.js. So you might want to know, okay, what is this React you see here? So let's go to React, open link in new tab. The library for web and native user interfaces. Very confusing again, you do not know what that is. But as a software engineer, you need to learn how to work with what you call libraries and frameworks. Libraries and frameworks, they are just like the programming language itself, the programming language that you are learning, but in a way that is built and packaged so that it becomes easier to work with, okay? Okay, technically not easier to work with, but you know, easier to work with in a sense. So if we just scroll through a website like this, for example, this is React, okay? We can scroll through it. We see here there's some sort of JavaScript code, you know, that somehow shows this, okay? So we can just keep scrolling and then we can see some more code here. Let me see, can I type inside this? No, I cannot. We can keep scrolling. We have another example here. Then this shows us that if you want to display these items, you have to type this JavaScript code, okay? So you can just keep scrolling and then we see all this code. We'll translate to this, okay? Can keep scrolling. So you can go through the entire website and, you know, just have a look around what's happening, what is this thing all about. However, as a beginner, you don't want to jump straight into using a framework. You first need to understand how websites are built and understand where a framework comes in. So to end our class, let's create a very simple web page, okay? And to create a web page, you're going to introduce two sets of technologies. Number one, you're going to install HTML. And number two, we are going to install CSS, okay? But don't worry, you're not going to write any code. AI will do that. So what is JavaScript and CSS? In the engineering world, in the software engineering world, we have what we call programming languages. And I've given you examples of programming languages. Is JavaScript. Another one is Python. Okay? However, Python. However, we not only always use JavaScript and Python and other languages. We need other tools that help us in creating applications. And three of the most common tools we use that they look like programming languages, but they are not really, you know, like fully qualified programming languages, so to speak. So three of those tools are HTML, CSS, and what we call JSON. If you remember, I shared a meme about JSON. So these ones, they are not really programming languages, but they look like programming languages, and they help us write web applications or websites, okay? Once you copy and copy. Okay, I haven't really gotten what you mean, Isaac. You can just maybe quote and rephrase your question. So now let's create our website. Let's assume we are creating a website to track what will this website track? African presidents and their net worth. So the first thing is to create a folder. So we are going to create our folder here, and then we'll call it African presidents. Okay. Now, like I said in a previous class, my teaching methodology is divided into 3 steps. Number 1 is introduction. Number 2 is confusion. Number 3 is pattern identification. And number 4 is mastery of that subject. Okay. So if you've noticed, there is a repeated pattern here: creating folder, opening it in VS Code, and then opening terminal and whatnot. Okay. So let's open this in VS Code. So we are going to open VS Code. We'll come here and we'll say Visual Studio Code. We'll open Visual Studio Code, which I'm also referring to VS Code in case you're confused. And then we'll open our project. So we are going to say open folder. We'll go to desktop, and then we want to open African presidents. We open it. Okay. So once that is done, let's just expand this to fill up the screen, and then we say yes, I trust the author. Okay. So to build a very simple website, you use what you call HTML to create the website. So number 1, what should we do? We create a document that explains what our project is all about. So here I'm going to say new file, readme.md, and then inside I'm going to say a platform that tracks African presidents and their net worth. Okay. Let me just zoom in for those who are having trouble seeing. Let me zoom out. Okay. So this is what we've done. Okay. Now, what is the next thing we do? We create a file that will contain our instructions in the programming language we are using. So here I'm going to say new file, and I'm going to say home.html. Okay, because we are using HTML. We'll hit enter, and then now inside HTML we want to represent the content of our website in the browser. Okay, so how do we do that? In HTML we use what we call tags, which they are very relatable because the tag explains exactly what you want to create. So if you want to create a heading, we can just say h tag. Okay, so here I'm going to start with a heading. So I'll say h, I'll close it like so, and then I'll say this is a website for tracking African presidents. Okay, so that is all I've done. Now, how do we run this code? Remember, when you're using JavaScript and Python, those are programming languages, so you run them in the terminal. However, for HTML, we don't run it in the terminal. We open it in the browser. So I'm going to go to the folder which I created. Under desktop, I will go to African presidents, and then you see this index.html, this one here. I'm going to double click on it, and then I'll say okay. And then as you can see, it's saying this is a website for tracking African presidents. So we've built our website. Can we end the class now? Who's lost? Who's with me? Give me a thumbs up if you're following, if we are together. If you are lost, please text in the chats where you are lost so that we can go back and drag you up to where we are. All right, Icon. Thanks for the heads. All right. So now this is our website. Our website is coming along very well, but it's very plain. There's no pictures. There's no what. So assuming you want to add a photo of one president, okay? Let's look for a president of a less known country. Let's say Gambia president, okay? Like so. So you want to get a picture. This guy right here. We are going to download that photo. We are going to download it. Where is download? Save image. But we are going to save that image inside our directory. Okay. Nothing but house music. Yeah. we are not ending the class yet. D. Which folder? Oh, the new president of Iran. We will do that. So inside the desktop folder, we are going to place this image inside our project folder. So we'll go into African presidents and say save. Okay, so if we go back to VS Code, let's just close these other windows. We don't need them. Let's close that. Let's also close that. If we go back to our project, we have the image here, but it's not inside our web page. How do we put it inside our web page? Okay, so to do that, we can just say, we can just go to ChatGPT and say, where's ChatGPT? Where is our good friend ChatGPT? ChatGPT. Enter. So inside ChatGPT, we are going to say how to add image to HTML. Oh my goodness, what was I typing? How to add image to HTML. Okay. And of course it tells us use this. So we are going to copy this directly, add image from the same folder. Okay, this from the same folder because our image is in the same folder. So we are going to copy this. Or you prefer Gemini? Yeah, I use Gemini sometimes. They both work. So I will copy this command. I will go to the project folder and I will paste that command right there. Okay, and then I will look through it. So it's saying that our image is named photo.jpg, but our image is not named photo.jpg. Our image is named Yawa Jame. So we are going to copy this name. So we will right click and say rename and then copy and then come here and paste it. Okay. So once that is done, we again open our file in the browser. So we'll go to the folder desktop African presidents. We right click on this home HTML, and as you can see the image is there. So our website is coming along nicely. Okay, so this is what you call HTML, and unfortunately you cannot learn HTML whereby you sit down and start learning HTML. That is a very wrong approach, because the way HTML is used in a real application is not the way we are using it right here. It's used very differently, and we'll look at a project walkthrough sometime later. I'm not the one who typed that, it's the cat. Okay, so this is HTML. You use tags to show content on the browser. I think I'll try to find a tutorial that explains more, and then I'll share it on Discord. Oh yes, this has been a very intense class. Yes, you can save several languages in one file. It all depends on how you are calling those files or how you are running those files. Yeah. So this is the 5th class. Also, it is the 2nd class this week. Since we are talking about 8 hours, the assumption is since we are midweek, you should be at least at 4 hours. If you've not clocked in 4 hours, after this class, I want you to go back and practice and learn and read articles until you complete the 4 hours that you are supposed to complete by now. So the thing is, by the time we get to Saturday, after we are done with the Saturday's class, you should be counting a total of 8 hours. Okay, we said we can work with 10 hours, but 8 hours is okay. So by Saturday, you should be counting 8 hours. If this class has been very confusing, you can share the exact bit that was confusing in the help channel on Discord, and the help channel is right here. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, I didn't share the screenshot here. So you can share the issue you are having in the help channel, and also you can come to the office hours. Okay, we said office hours are from 1:30 to 2:20 p.m. However, since office hours has to be a few number of people, I try to prioritize those who have donated for the course. by virtue of them trying to help, I also try to go out of my way. So the office hours for tomorrow is fully booked. If you have to book for office hours, it has to be starting on Friday, is when I'll be available. But do take advantage of the Discord help channel to ask your questions and to ask for help. Yeah, programming languages are in English, but it's English that is structured funny, like we've just seen with Python and JavaScript. That is all. Now let's look at a sample project. Okay, let's look at a sample project. So I'm going to open my cloud storage where I've stored my code, and this code is for a hospital information management system. So let me just try to get the links to that hospital management system. Actually, this is the most important part of this class, because the only way you learn fast is by observation, by looking at whatever is built already, and then you learn from that. So let me just get the credentials here. Let's scroll up. All right, so we are going to copy this. Don't worry about what I'm typing here. I'm just typing a URL. This is another format of URLs. They look weird. So this is a hospital information management system, okay? And as you can see, this is the front page, and you can come here and log in. So let me just get the credentials for logging in. Let me get the password. Like so. Login. Not now. Okay, and we are logged in. So as you can see, we have doctors here. We have patients here. We can create a patient. We can also go to check-in and pick a patient and send them to the doctor. So we can say headache, and then we can say check-in patient. Once that is done, we can say send to the lab if they want to do a test, let's say urinalysis, and so on and so forth. A lot of things you can do in a hospital. But what is the code looking like? The code that powers everything. What does the code look like? Now let's look at the code. So we will go to the source code. I'm just going to type that, and the source code is right here. So let's download the source code. So I'm going to copy this link. No, I'm going to download. Takes a minute to download. Anime Prime, Buddy is a good teacher. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to see your assignment in the group. Don't just say I'm a good teacher and you don't attempt the assignment. I will look for you in the Discord server and see what you do. So we will extract our code, and then we are going to open this code using VS Code. So in VS Code, we are going to say File, Open Folder, and then we are going to go to Downloads now and open whatever we've downloaded. So what we've done here is we've downloaded what we call the source code. Okay, so let's open the source code. And oh my, look at all these nonsense. Okay, it's not nonsense. Look at all these. So we have the back end, we have the front end, we have Docker Compose. What the heck is this? But if we open, we see a bunch of code. We have screenshots here that show what the project is about. If you go inside the front end, more folders, more code. We have this account menu.js. So here we know that it's a JavaScript file, but it's not the JavaScript we've studied. Look at all this. Of course, we've seen const in our previous class. This thing right here, we saw it. Return, we didn't see it. And then we look at all these weird looking bunch of code here. Span. This seems like it's a list. very confusing. Yeah, that's my GitHub repo. Very confusing. You see, we have more files, and then we have folders, inside folders, inside folders. And believe it or not, as a software engineer, when you're working on such a project, you have to know which file does what. Okay, like I know right away what this file does because I'm the one who built the entire system together with a few friends of mine. So I know what this does. I know what this dummy data is. As you can see, it's just a bunch of data. This is what we call JSON. I mentioned that JSON helps us, build more features. Now, this is just the front end. Now, let's look at the back end, which is Python. So, as you can see, the front end is mainly using JavaScript. As you can see, most of the files in the front end, you have started seeing traces of confusion. Thank you. Welcome to the team, Chelangat. So, as you can see, the front end has JavaScript, index.js, laboratory.js. But if you look inside the back end, if you go to company, as you can see, we have .py. There is not .js, okay? So .py, oh yeah, she is taking care of me, D. .py is Python. So in this project, we use Python and JavaScript, okay? But you don't use it in a way that, it's simple like Python script. So let's look at a sample Python file. Chelangat, are you ready for more confusion? So let's look at serializers.py. So it's a Python file, but we've not learned all these things, okay? We've not touched any of those things, except this right here. Who knows what this is? We've learned about this. Who knows what this is? And this, what are these? Chelangat, what do you think these are? Okay, what is this? Okay, also, as you try to figure out what that is, let's try to look at more Python file and see if we can identify things we've learned, okay? Let's look at, for example, this right here. What is this? Okay, indentation, Bozizi, very close. So as you can see, this is a list. We've looked at lists, okay? Variables, yeah, very, very nice. Those are variables. So this is a list. We've looked at list. If you go to something like urls.py, you can see more lists. Yes, those are variables. Now you see, this is the way you learn how to code fast. You pick an actual project that has been developed, open the code, go into the confusion, but as you do that, try to identify patterns, try to identify repeated, try to identify things that you've already learned. For example, the key takeaway here is you've seen lists and you've seen variables, and that's enough. That is completely enough, okay? So this is just a sample project walkthrough of an actual real-world application. And as you can see, there's quite a lot going on. And in our next class, we are going to now create a simple web app or website, but we will use a framework, a JavaScript framework. Albert Kipkorir, yeah, you'll have to go back to the previous classes. Yes. So I think that marks the end of our class today. This has been a very intense class. So I will upload the recording once it's done processing so that other people can follow through. And if you're in this class and you got lost, you can go back to the recording and see where you got lost. Are there any questions? All right, we'll end it for here. If you have any questions, do share in the Discord server, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. No, we don't have a class tomorrow. On Saturday. Tomorrow is Thursday. Yeah, I'll see you on Saturday. All right, have a good night. Yeah, Marvin, please get lots of coffee.